Hey guys, welcome back. Going to be making some a version of just a red sauce with some sausage, some Italian sausage. Making a lot, so I got 3 cans of whole tomatoes basically, some paste, sausage, onions, and Italian broadleaf parsley and garlic. Also have a whole bunch of herbs I'll be putting in, and of course salt and pepper, etc. But let's get to it. I'm going to start by just fine dicing some onions here. I got just 4 onions, so what I'll do is I'll take the tops and the bottoms off and get them ready to fine dice. I have 4 large onions. Excuse me, I have 4 large onions. For 3 large cans of tomatoes. Now, you know, if I only make a little bit of sauce, I could use fresh tomatoes. Because I'm making such a large amount, I'm using the can. Later in the season, I will show you how to do this once I have some fresh tomatoes in my garden. How to do this with fresh tomatoes. Alright, let me show you how to dice. I know you've seen me do this 1,000 times, but you know, you just run your knife through. Okay, just quickly run your knife through this way. Get a nice fine dice. Of course, it's Christmas, so I'm going down here for a while, for the week. So there's a lot of background noise. I apologize for that. All right, let me cut these up, and then I'll show you what's next. Some garlic. So I'm going to get a bulb of garlic. I'll just give it a quick crush. Throw out the papers. And just like before, I just crush them with the palm of my hand, or if they're really tight, like some of these are tight, just decide your knife and give it a good tap. And that'll pop them right open. You should be able to pull the garlic right out of the paper or the skin that's in. And there they are in the background, the crying baby. So that's how you peel garlic. Now that the garlic is all out of the skin, I'm just going to give it a quick chop. This makes it a little more mellow, having larger pieces of garlic than if they're very, very fine. So I'm going to cut these rather on the large side. And when I cook them, I'm going to cook it slow and slow. So it's going to melt, the garlic will kind of melt inside the sauce. Let me just get the ends out of here. I'll run my knife through one more time. And there, the garlic is ready. Now I got the Italian parsley. I'm going to use even some of the stem. So I'll show you how to cut up some parsley over here. We're going to start on the leaf side. Just bring it in and crunch it up, and then just run your knife through it. Stems and all. Not a lot of stem, but a little bit. The stem has a lot of flavor in it. And we're really going to mince this up really, really good. And the way to mince really well is to hold the knife with 2 fingers and have your other finger just on the tip. And then you can just walk the knife through whatever you're cutting. As you can see, I'm just kind of walking the knife back and forth. Maybe with a white knife you might be able to see a little better. I'll use this white knife, see, you can just walk the knife right through whatever you're cutting. And as good as a food processor, but better because a food processor tends to liquefy parsley. And you just want a nice fine dice. Just like that. Just like that. Now the last thing I'm going to do is I have some Italian sausage here. Now this we just got at Costco. Now I'm just going to pull the skin off this sausage. there's a small membrane or intestine they put these in. I'm just gonna get the sausage and just pull it right out of the membrane. And this is gonna add a lot of flavor to my sausage. I mean, to my sauce. So, alright, I'm about ready to start cooking. Well, give me 1 second, I'll show you what these tomatoes are all about, the canned tomatoes. So guys, I just put the tomatoes, because I have whole peeled tomatoes, so I'm just putting them in the blender, and I'm just going to run through the blender. And blend them up until they're sauce. And by doing this, you'll use less tomato paste as a thickener, because the whole tomatoes just make a better sauce than if you bought like a pre-sauced tomato, I feel, and this is how we've always done it. So that's the way I'm doing it. So there's tomatoes ground up, and I'm just going to finish grinding up the 2 other number 10 cans of tomatoes and get them all ground up. So I got a pan heating up on the fire here. As soon as this gets hot, I'm going to add some oil to it. Now that the pan is hot, I'm going to add a bunch of olive oil to the bottom of the pan to coat it. Wait for that to come up to temperature. As soon as that's up to temperature, I'm going to add the garlic that I chopped up and all the onions I chopped up. I'm going to let those cook down a little bit, and then I'm going to add the sausage. Now that the onions have cooked down a little bit, we're going to add the sausage. And we're going to cook this all down together. We'll add a little salt right on top of that to help that break down. And a good crack of black pepper for flavor. Cover that and let that start to cook down. Now that the sausage is all cooked with the onions, you can see everything's cooked down. What we're going to do is add the fresh parsley right to it. Stir that right in there. And on top of that, we'll just pour these tomatoes. Give it a good stir. And I'll show you what I'm going to do next. Now that I get this barely simmering, I'm going to add some just herbs to it. This is dry basil. I'm going to add a handful of dry basil to this. This is dry flat leaf parsley. I'm going to add a handful of dry flat leaf parsley, well maybe 1.5. Hello. I'm going to add some garlic. Even though I add that, I'm going to add some garlic to it as well. And the last thing I'm going to add is about a bottle of wine. That's about 3/4 of a bottle of wine. And that was just a white. You can add a red or a white, whatever you like. And I'm going to give it a good stir. And I'm going to let it simmer now for about 4 hours. And then I will check it for flavor and for thickness, and I'll add whatever I might need to add after that. I almost forgot, I'm going to add some homemade chicken stock. That's about 4 cups of homemade chicken stock to this. So guys, it's been simmering now for about 2 hours. I also added, off camera, I added a couple of bay leaves. It got real noisy in here, the whole... Anyway, it got noisy in here. What I'm going to add now, because it's still really loose, it's been simmering for 2 hours, I'm going to let it reduce some more, but I'm going to add a couple of cans of tomato paste. So now I just got just regular small little 6-ounce cans of tomato paste. And I'm just going to add the whole can. I'm actually going to add 2 of these cans. This is going to help thicken this sauce up. I may need to add 2 or 3 more cans, but at this point I'm just going to add 2 cans and I'll see where I'm at. So I'll give it a good stir. Mix that tomato paste in with all that stuff that's in there already. I'm going to let it simmer now for another full hour, and then I'll come and check it again. And if I need to add more tomato paste, I will at that time. So it's been 4 hours. You see it's reduced quite a bit. It's thickened up quite a bit. I'm going to give it a taste. There's some other stuff I'm going to add to it after I taste it. Give it a quick taste. It definitely needs some salt. Let me pull it forward here. Taste here. That's better. Now I need to add the last ingredient. Add about a teaspoon of black pepper. And I'm going to add a good amount of brown sugar. Now the brown sugar does a couple of things. I'm adding about a good couple of tablespoons. It adds a richness, a darker color from the molasses and the brown sugar, and it adds a sweetness, a little bit of sweetness, because the tomatoes are kind of bitter. So I'm going to add a little bit more than that. It's not quite enough. Give it a good stir. And get a clean spoon. And that's much better. It took away the sharp flavor of the tomatoes, the canned tomatoes, and added a lot of sweetness. Usually you don't need to add too much brown sugar when you're using fresh tomatoes because they're very sweet. But with these canned tomatoes, they are not as sweet. That is a good basic sauce that I made. It does have some meat in it, but not, as you see, there's not really that much meat in it. It has lots of herbs and spices in it. And it took about 4 hours to cook, all told. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great night. I'll be making some lasagnas tomorrow, I think. So God bless, and have a good night.